Hi, I'm Colin with FastLab UTV. Today I'm going to walk you through our X3 fan shroud. That's a bulkhead reinforcement. So what we're looking at here, we have a couple stock examples on hand. This is the stock unit, all plastic, no real structure to it. Really just meant to hold the radiator and the fan in place. A common issue is any light duty front impact can tweak these things. This has a lot of damage, it's been broken out. So this is a case on this one where it needed to be replaced. You can see it even has tweaked the radiator. So that's one thing that happens with these, is the radiator can get tweaked. So what we decided is we want to make a structural piece for the front. So this is the FastLab unit. It's basically all steel and it has these ribs down the side. So this is a fully structural piece. So it actually ties the bottom bulkhead bumper into the top of the shock tower. So you really are tying the whole unit together with this steel piece. So what you do is we're going to take apart the stock unit, we're going to pull the fan and the fan motor out, and as well as the radiator is going to come off, and that'll just mount right to this piece. But we'll go ahead and get this installed on the vehicle first. So to start the process, we need to remove the front plastics. There's going to be 12 bolts that we take off, but we did start by removing the headlights. So those just have 3 bolts per side. Remove those, unclip the connector, just pull the headlights, get those out of the way and keep them safe off to the side. Next we're going to go down the line, start each side, start down here, here, and then work our way up, hit those, and there's a couple underneath as well. So we'll go ahead and pull all those off. That'll allow us to pull the whole front panel off. Does it? Mm-hmm. And down on the side you got to pull your gas cap cover. And then there's one right over here on the side. So kind of a hidden couple down here. So there's clips holding the front panels in. You kind of just have to pop them out. They will come loose, so it might be a good idea to have some of these on hand. So we got all the bolts loose from the plastic along the back row and everything. We're just going to try to pop this up and lift the whole thing off. So we have the old damaged fan shroud here. So basically what we do is just remove the old one. In order to do that, disconnect the hoses. You will get a little coolant flowing through. So just prepare yourself with a drain pan and some rags. Make sure to have rags because it will flow out pretty good. The radiator is going to want to drain as soon as you pull the lower radiator hose. So you pull the hoses. Disconnect all the clips on the wiring. Make sure you disconnect all the connectors. And then to remove this, it's just 4 bolts, 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. Those are 10mm heads. So you just go ahead and pull those. And then you kind of check this out. Make sure you don't have anything connected. We're all clear. And we'll go ahead and just pull the old damaged parts out. Next, we're going to separate the fan shroud from the radiator. 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to have the fan shroud on its own and work on removing the fan motor and the fan blades. So pretty simple the way this is held onto the motor. It's just keyed in here, so you just have to pop this washer piece loose. So I like to use just a little flathead in there and just give it a tap. Pull that guy out, we will be reusing that. Pull your off of there. We will be reusing that. And then now we just have the motor. That's why I kept these, I didn't take these all the way off, just to leave them in place. So now we have them loose. Pull those guys. These will not be reused. We supply hardware to attach this motor to the new fan shroud. And I will pop right out. So we have the new fan shroud here. You want to make sure you clock this the same direction that you took it off. So we had our thing facing down. You can see in the videos like this. Go ahead and clock that guy down. So again, the motor's clocked the same way so that this will run to the correct location. Take your bolt and your washer, drop them in, and then this requires a nut on this bottom side. So go ahead and get that started. So the thing to take note when you're installing the fan is you have 3 tabs here that have to align with the fan, and then you have a little tit there on the shroud that this has to line up with, the washer. So get those lined up so that the flats will align with the little tit on there. Got our radiator back here. Now we're just gonna drop this guy on. So we got this slid in, lined up. We supply these rubber washers. So you slip these in on the bottom just to space it out and give a little bit of vibration damping on this side. Then go ahead and take your factory screws that we removed and we're gonna thread them back in. Just get them started, so make sure we have everything aligned. So we're preparing to put the fan shroud assembly with the radiator back into the vehicle. We do supply rubber washers. You'll find those in the kit. And those are just due to framing consistencies or aftermarket bumpers or different shock tower braces. And really, you're gonna kind of have to play with these. On this car, we're gonna use 2 on the bottom and 1 on the top. We found that that worked the best, but again, you're gonna have to just make sure everything clears. It's really to dampen the vibration of the chassis going into this assembly. So this little front scoop thing that really just protects the diff behind it if you don't have a winch in place. You just gotta trim the corners. Like I was saying, this is a structural piece, so we have ribs that run through it. So you really just need to trim off these upper corners on both sides, or you can trim the whole thing. So we trim down those edges just to make it flush fit. Just get it set in, and then again, just play with the rubber, provide the rubber washers depending on how tweaked your setup is or what parts you have. And you can kind of get it in place, make sure everything fits, and we'll go ahead and bolt it down onto our 4 points. So now we got the assembly all installed, all the 4 bolts bolted on, and we're going to just reinstall all the hoses and make sure the connectors are all nice and free. Connect the fan connector, make sure you get that on, and just work your way through and make sure everything is attached. After that, we'll get the plastic back on. So finally, the last step will be attaching the headlights. The fan shroud has one of the connectors in it, and then you'll just slip it through these guys, 2 of the black 8mm head screws, and the center fixed one is the gold colored 7mm. So you just get these guys fixed up in here, and go ahead and put the screws in. So once you've set the lights back in and directed your lights properly, remember those are adjustable so you can aim them how you want afterwards. You need to come back and you need to refill the coolant. We saw that some of the coolant came out when we removed the radiator. So you gotta come back to the back where the reservoir is, pop the cover off. Just has 2 little tabs that pop in. And you see your coolant bottle. Go ahead and wipe this down. Just want to clean it up so you don't get any dirt inside of the coolant tank. I recommend using a funnel. Once you have it to the max line, you're going to want to run the car just for a few minutes. Put the cap back on and run the vehicle, and then check it again and refill back to the max line. And then after you go on your first ride, make sure you check it again after that, just to make sure everything's up to speed. Sometimes there's air bubbles in the system and they work their way out as you ride. So check it after your first ride, and then that's it, you're ready to go.